Chapter 1060 is out, and it's absolutely packed with bad vibes. From Luffy blueballing us again, 2 times, to the big ol' Boomba. There's a lot to go over. Starting out, the first half of this chapter kicks me right in the nostalgia sack, because we get the crew doing what they do best. Panicking and arguing. The news of Vivi's disappearance and Cobra's death at the hands of Sabo finally reached Luffy, and he can't even contain himself. He immediately wants to sail back to Alabasta. His crew continuing the journey to find the last poneglyph, Miss Wednesday needs our help. However, Zoro reminds our captain that Vivi was last seen at Maryjois. So Luffy, ready to take on the entire government, calmly exclaims they should go there. Panic erupts as the 3 oldest members of the crew go, shit happens. Also, who's Vivi? Now let's jump ahead to the end of the chapter, because our crew has come across a certain child, Jewelry Bonnie, who if you'll remember was in Maryjois during the Revolutionary Army's raid, and seemingly helped Kuma, who we now know is free from the bubbly overlords and safely in the hands of the Revolutionary Army. In my mind, this is probably leading to a big exposition dump, where we'll hear exactly what happened during the rescue mission, which also means we'll most likely get a flashback of Green Bull and Fujitora versus Sabo and his pals, in the Celestial Dragon residential area. And probably also Bonnie's real relation to Kuma, and possibly the government as a whole. Anyways, back with the crew who's still in complete meltdown, we have Zoro telling Luffy to deal with the situation like he did with Ace, meaning leave Vivi to deal with it on her own. What? I don't know if Zoro remembers what happened to Ace, but it didn't turn out great. Understandably, the crew roasted the living shit out of him with some real bangers, which Caribou is present for, chained up within a barrel. Again. During the roast session of the century, Robin finally catches the Straw Hats up on the news of the Outer Wano world. Warlords are done for. Cross Guild lives. And Buggy is an emperor, and Luffy isn't having any of it. He sees through Buggy right away. Now comes our first blue ball. There's even more news on characters we know, and instead of getting that precious exposition dump, Luffy decides that's enough for today because his brain damage is making it hard to keep up. So we move on to blue ball, the next one. Luffy is just about to tell us his dream, but Oda ran out of ink and changed his mind. Even though we don't hear his dream outright, we do get some more context for it. That being, Luffy will most likely need to become Pirate King before it can happen. The crew has mixed reactions. Notably, Usopp is mortified at the implications of achieving it and outright denies it even being possible. Attaboy, crushes off-screen dream. Whereas in contrast, Jinbei thinks it's the funniest goddamn thing he's ever heard, but then slowly realizes what he's gotten himself into. We're later thrusted into Navy HQ, who have thrusted themselves into a call between Sabo and Dragon. But we're also informed Sabo got a peek at Eames sitting on the empty throne, which is huge. Now focusing on the wiretap, there's 2 ways in my mind to interpret this. Sabo was lacking and he didn't have a white Den Den Mushi with him to secure the call. Or, his call getting tapped was on purpose. Remember, basically the entirety of the world government is unaware of Eames' existence. Only the Gorosei are in direct contact with him, so leaving the call unprotected means any government members listening in now know that there is someone ruling over and sitting on the empty throne. This obviously also includes the revolutionaries in the Kamabaka Kingdom who were listening in as well. And to add on to the absolute hysterics of this chapter, Sabo is seemingly on his way to Leloucha Kingdom. And for those of you who don't remember, Leloucha was saved by the revolutionaries from the Peachbeard Pirates, way back in chapter 904. Peachbeard. Very original name. Very cool. Oh, and they're also affiliated with Blackbeard's crew, so yeah, that checks out. Anyways, Leloucha has been emboldened by the revolutionary commanders to take up arms against their rulers, which also means they've rebelled against the world government, along with 7 other nations that will most likely also face the big floating thingy. Oh, hey look, a big floating thingy. Oh no. We finally get a taste of what it is Eam can really do. As a secret leader of the entire world, you would expect him to have some insane influence or power. And we finally see both on display, because Leloucha gets nuked into oblivion. Now there's already been tons of theories floating around about this power, notably on Reddit there's been some convincing posts about this being Uranus. And to me that makes perfect sense, because we've very recently had multiple chapters talking about Pluton and its location under Wano. So it's fitting that we now have all 3 ancient weapons accounted for. And now we've seen what 2 of them are capable of. I will say though, if this is Uranus, it seems way more impressive than Poseidon, who is a little fish lady who can control funny little fish. But let's go back to Sabo and his 40-second near-death experience. As some observant fellows online have noted, Sabo's shadow is not directly under his face, which implies that he's a good distance away from the center of the explosion, possibly on a boat or an island nearby. But the citizens, that's a different story. They got hit with the COD tactical nuke. Feels bad. Back to the Straw Hats. They're now sailing through winter waters, which is a real roadblock to the Sphinx is the next island theory that I have been pushing. But this climate is where they find the child that we were talking about earlier inside of a giant water orb. Bonnie, who's been getting chased nonstop by basically everybody on the planet for the entirety of the series. Just to run back to Sphinx Island real quick, let's put on our tinfoil hats so we could protect that theory. I'm desperately hoping Bonnie is now being chased by Aokiji, and the weather around is just being caused by him trying to capture her. Whether it's because of his relation to Blackbeard or whatever personal reason he might have, this is what I'm hoping. My thought process here is it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for Bonnie to just kind of be in the middle of the ocean without a ship or crew. This really does seem like the Straw Hats are rescuing her from a current interaction or threat. Or this is the mother of all copes, and they're actually going to a winter island. Maybe the one where Ace met Shanks and had a little Luffy bonding sesh. Or the Andor Caribou, who just so happens to be in a barrel aboard the Sunny, defeated Scotch, a subordinate of Kaido, who we saw in Caribou's cover story on an island known as one of Kaido's favorite islands. Caribou won over the citizens by destroying the weapons factory there, and we also see that Caribou's crew might also still be there. Even all the way back in chapter 700, we're shown Bonnie on a winter island, which is one of the chapters that feature Caribou's cover story. I'm expecting this to lead to more Kaido backstory, more Revolutionary Army backstory, Bonnie's real relation to the world government, bunch of crap.